Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Indie Hangout. This is episode number 5. Wow, episode number 5. Long time coming. We got a really good one for you guys. I think you're going to love this. As I state every episode, because, well, this one specifically because I have a feeling that our listeners love hearing about the games that we talk about. And what better than to hear about games we talk about than new games that are going to be coming out. Some new games coming out in June of this year that we have seen the buzz around, and we want to share with you guys to get you in on this. We're also going to discuss recent indie developer news on X for these games. We're going to unpack some hot takes in the indie scene and introduce a little segment called Game of the Month. So we wanted to introduce this. We don't have something picked yet, but I think in the next episode, we'll go ahead and get this thing underway. Oh, Game of the Month, think of it as a book club of sorts, but for games. So the three of us will pick an indie game, maybe within the year that has been made, or as far as something that's just been released. We'll play it for that month, and at the end of the month, we'll have a nice review along with the listeners to get a feel for how the game was and how we felt about the game and everything that goes within it. I think this will be a really fun thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good idea. We'll have some fun with it.
Nice.
It'll definitely be something awesome for sure. I mean, it's just something that it's going to give us the opportunity to maybe really dig in and find some games that we didn't know existed, kind of find these diamonds in the rough and pull it out into the mainstream and maybe fall in love with some games that we didn't even know existed.
Absolutely. You could definitely find those diamonds in the rough, because there's probably plenty of them. With so many games coming out nowadays, it's hard to keep on point with all of them. So if you can jump on them early, it's really cool to find those and play them out and be like, wow, where has this been all my life? But before I get any further into this, oh my God, I totally completely lost it. I am Neumatix. You may know me from over on YouTube, and I also stream over on Twitch if you add an extra X at the end. I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Maz and Kronos. What's up, guys?
What's going on, guys? Maz from MazTech Gaming here. MazTech Gaming over on YouTube, and find me at MazTech_Gaming over on Twitch.
How's it going, everybody? Kronos here. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch at Osok Kronos. Can't believe New forgot us.
Kind of hurts,
man. I'm sorry, guys. I won't let it happen again. I'm just, you know what? It might happen again. Let's be honest.
It's definitely going to happen again.
Yeah. So now that we got introductions out of the way,
finally,
for the new listeners jumping in, let's jump into the indie scene with June releases. How about something very big, a very big thing coming out that a lot of people are talking about? It's got a lot of hype behind it that may have a big impact on indies, maybe not. We'll see. How about that Nintendo Switch 2 release coming in June 5th? Are we excited for it?
I unfortunately did not get in on any of the pre-orders yet, so I'm trying because I want to see how it is when it comes out. But so far, the pre-orders are just selling out instantly.
Oh, yeah, and it was like that with the original Switch as well. I mean, you couldn't get that for months. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it impacts the indie scene overall. Not something that I'm looking to pick up right away. I got the original Switch for my daughter, and she didn't even play it that much either. So I've actually played that more than my kids have played it. And it was actually specifically for them. But I may pick that up somewhere down the line.
Nice. What's funny? I heard it and I'm like, I've listened to some other stuff that's been talking about the Switch 2 for a while, even before the announcement came out for it. And everyone's so excited about it. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know. Maybe I'll get it. I don't know if I'm going to get it. I'll be honest. Like, when it came to the Nintendo Switch original, I did not get it when it first came out. My wife got it. And then I saw her playing Animal Crossing. And I was like, they also have Legend of Zelda on there. Maybe I could do that. So I went ahead and I bought the Switch Lite. And that was okay. I mean, it wasn't great. I was really borrowing my wife's whenever she wasn't playing it and put it on the TV when I could, because the Switch Lite couldn't do that. But it was good enough, And I really like the suspension. I think it's called suspension pause, where you just click the power button. So you don't have to pause the game. Whatever game you're playing, you just hit the power button and it suspends the game. And then when you hit the power button again, it brings it back up wherever you left off, which is a really neat feature.
Yeah, it's really nice that they did that with that console too. because like I play a lot of Pokemon games, and I did buy the original Switch when it first came out because Pokemon Sword and Shield were around the same time. So I was like, I gotta play the new games. So I bought it, on the fear of missing out on the new game. And
You know,
apparently, there's a new generation of Pokemon coming soon that's only going to be a Switch 2, so I might have to buy one of them.
it forces you with those exclusives. I mean, Nintendo is the king of exclusives. We talked
They
about it in
truly
past
are.
podcasts. Yeah, we've talked about it in past podcasts. Is you're not going to ever find Mario on another console. And of course, now that I said that, they'll go out of business tomorrow and be on every console in America. But just with my luck there. But the thing is, Nintendo is the number one handheld console. Game Boy. It sold more than, I don't know if you guys remember the Atari Lynx, the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, the PlayStation Vita. All these other handheld devices never ever came close to selling as much as the Game Boy. And so why not make a next generation console with the Switch that is not only a full console, but a handheld? It's brilliant.
It's
For
probably
sure.
That's probably the coolest thing about the Nintendo Switch. It was like next level with those little Joy-Cons and stuff, figuring out. Especially, I think that's what got me off the Switch Lite too. Is I wanted the Switch OLED when that came out, and I saw it was a nice all white and black. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting that, and I got lucky. I think it's because it was around COVID time where everyone was buying a Switch so that they can play that in their homes quarantined and everything. And I got one at Walmart, and the guy's like, "Yeah, there's no way we have one." He goes back there. The typical. I'm figuring he's going back there. He's not really looking. He's just goofing off, and then he's gonna come out and be like, "Yeah, this guy, he doesn't know. Does he really think he's gonna get one?" But he goes back there, and he actually comes. He's like, "You wouldn't believe this, but I found one. You are so lucky, dude. I hadn't. I had a what? How did he put it? That he had thought about just keeping it for himself and telling me he didn't have any back there. I was like,
Wow.
well, thanks for not doing that, and I'll take
Right.
that.
Dude, it's like crazy. Like that's never happened to me ever. I think
Yeah,
that every person I've ever asked, they're doing what you said you thought he was doing. I'm 100% certain of it. I've never ever had anybody come back from the back room and be like, "Hey, you know what? We actually do have that." So that is massive luck.
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got lucky with my OLED because I got one of the Scarlet and Violet Pokemon OLEDs, and GameStop near where I live only got 10 of them. And the manager, he put one aside and was waiting for me to come in after work because he knew I liked Pokemon. And like I walked in, he's like, "Hey man, just got these in today." He said, "I've already sold all 9 of them. I was holding this one until you came in." He's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take it."
It's awesome.
That that is really cool. That's really cool. I didn't get anything special. Yeah, like I said, I just got the white and black one, and I was happy with that. Like I said, it's like the only one I could find. I was searching all over too, and it was just that one Walmart that said yeah, supposedly they had one in stock, and it was off a whim. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go see. So that's how I got mine, and then I had a lot of fun playing with that. I got some accessories. I got with the Pro controller, and I got some fancy Joy Cons and stuff like that, like Legend of Zelda, because that was my game. That was my jam. I loved playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on there, and I also played Tears of the Kingdom on there. And then what's really cool is I think that's what really got me into some of the indie games that are on there. But unfortunately, if you guys have seen on the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Shop was kind of bad. Did not work very well at all. And half the time when I was looking at stuff, I didn't know if it was, quote unquote shovelware and if it was really worth my time. It was more like if you stuck to the name brand, like the quote unquote, yeah, name brand titles, you're safe. And if you didn't, you weren't. But
Yeah, I downloaded a couple games off of there that were like $3 or $4, just trying them out. And like, there were some that were decent. And then most of them were like, I've played better games on my phone.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. But that's where I bought Stardew Valley, as I talk about in every episode. And I went ahead, I bought it on the Switch, and then I bought it on PC because I learned you can mod it. And then, side note, sidestepping away from the Switch 2, I'd like to ask about this too, is because I have a Steam Deck. And on my Steam Deck, I learned that I could mod Stardew Valley on my Steam Deck, which is something I could not do on my Switch because you would have to jailbreak it. And then they always say, like, there's a bunch of bad things that can happen where you can no longer do multiplayer and eventually it's going to die or something like that. So it was like a bonus for me to get the Steam Deck. So my question to you guys is, do you think with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, is it going to be able to stand up to the Steam Deck and other handhelds? Because let's be honest, the Switch itself was stellar, amazing console to come out, blew people away, and it's very easy for anyone to grab up and play on. Now, since then, other competitors have seen that and brought their own to the table. So I'm curious if it's going to be a matter of how you were saying, Maz, is the PSP and all those other handhelds against the Switch, and the Switch was like by far the superior. Is it going to be
Well,
another one of those situations, or is the Switch 2 actually going to get blown away here?
well, the Game Boy is what really beat the other ones out before the Switch even existed, for the most part, because you have different variations of the Game Boy. It was the Game Boy, then it was the Game Boy Color, then the Advance, and then they came out with the 3DS and with the DS and the 3DS and all that.
They had
But
the SP too, you know, the little
and the
square one that
SP.
had the backlit screen.
That was
for the
my
first time
favorite one,
ever.
to be honest with you. That was my
It
favorite
was.
one. Yeah, that thing was cool. You could throw that in your pocket and your boss couldn't see that you were playing a game instead of working. It was awesome back in the day. And so they are a heavyweight. Now I will, and Nintendo's reputation precedes them, as we all know. I don't think they ever had a bad console except for the Virtual Boy. That was ahead of its time. I think that was like their first crack at virtual reality, but it was all infrared and it burned your eyes out. You could only play for like 30 minutes before you had to take a break. It was way ahead of its time and a huge flop. But other than that, they've cornered the market for the most part. And I'm talking sales. They've cornered the market with handheld. I don't know if they're going to, maybe, and I'm not sure because they're very proprietary, right? This is my way. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how Nintendo works. We charge top dollar for every game. Super Mario, if I went to go look up Super Mario Galaxy right now, guaranteed it's $60. And that game is 400 years old. But I'm not sure if the Switch 2 is going to get wise to what the Steam Deck did and allow you to mod without jailbreaking. Usually with jailbreaking, you're not going to be able to do the multiplayer and you can break things and it also voids your warranty 9 times out of 10, depending on what product it is. Guaranteed with Nintendo, it's going to void the warranty if you jailbreak it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you got to be careful of. But I think that it's going to have no problem with the Steam Deck whatsoever. Steam Deck's great. I think it's an awesome addition to a platform that's doing a great job with licensing games and everything like that, because handheld is really really convenient. Really convenient because, I mean, if you're like me, I'm working 40, 50 hours a week. I'm not home. I'm only playing games when I'm streaming or if I'm creating content and whatnot. If I had, a handheld, maybe I could play around with it during my lunch break and whatnot. It's nothing I can do right now. But I think that's nice cutting edge for some of these more higher end games. But I think, again, that Nintendo's in a league of its own and it's got its own set of games. I don't think it's really gonna be hurt by the Stream Deck at all. I'm sorry, by the Steam Deck at all.
So one thing that I do know about the Switch 2, and I think it's going to be the original Switches also, is Nintendo updated their policy on the consoles that they can potentially brick your console if they catch you for like modifying it or using piracy and stuff like that. So that will hurt them in the mod department because
100%.
yeah, they're pretty much saying if you mod the console or games or anything, we're making your console unusable, which kind of not a good take in a way because it's like, hey, I'm paying $400 or $500 for this thing. Why can't I mod it?
Care. Yeah. They don't care.
But they're like, no, we don't care that you paid this much. We're going to brick it and it's no longer going to be good. It's like,
I'm Nintendo. I do what I want.
I was about to say the same. Yeah, Nintendo does whatever Nintendo wants.
They're the king. They've got more console sales, more game sales than any other console combined.
Yep. The Switch 2 does look promising. I don't know if y'all seen it. I sent a quick picture in the Discord of the resolution between the regular Switch and the Switch 2. It looks like it's going to be a lot better pictures.
Dude, you're going to be able to play Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth on it. They're being ported over. There's no way to switch. I mean, yeah, the original Switch is like over 10 years old by now, but still, holy crap.
Well, did you see they also have the Nintendo GameCube, like hub that's coming to it, to where you can play all the older like GameCube games, like the Pokemon Coliseum and Yellow Darkness that I have.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
over. It's all over
Yeah,
when it comes to
the
that. I mean,
Nintendo is they're getting smart, because they're like, a lot of people like, because you right now you can get like the game, what is it, the Nintendo 64, the regular NES, and there's one other Nintendo system that you can get those games right now on the older Switches and still play them. And it's like, people love that. They're buying them just to go play these older Mario games.
that's one of the only things that I do because I'm an old fart. But it's like the Nintendo Switch Online is what you're talking about there. It's actually regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy games, and N64 right now. Plus, they're taking some of these older games that were like that aren't available yet, like on the Wii, like Super Mario RPG, which is amazing back in the day. They did a remake of that. Paper Mario, they've done a remake of that. It's not really a remake, but it's a port of that they charge, of course, $59.99 top dollar. But that's the draw for the older crowd. And quite honestly, Nintendo's been around longer than PlayStation, longer than Xbox, longer than any other system, say for Atari and whatnot, but they started it. They're the ones that, I don't know if you guys know the history, but there was, E.T. for Atari. Kind of like, it was a big flop, and it was kind of like the dotted line end of video games. And Nintendo came out with the NES and just revitalized the gaming industry. It was in trouble back then. And it just changed everything, but it's been around since then, and it's become a titan. And now it's, you have that older audience. Facebook, social media is a lot of the users there are of an older demographic because they grew up with it. So it's a no-brainer to say, hey, you know what? Let's do Nintendo Switch Online, have all these classic games on there, and there you go. There's more unit sales for you.
I'm going to come out with this right now and have a hot take. I don't think the Switch 2 is going to have as big of an impact as people think compared to other handhelds on the market right now. Now, let me explain. The reason I think this, and this is me personally thinking about it, and this also, remember, I'm a guy who bought the Switch later on. The only reason I bought it was because of The Legend of Zelda's Tears of the Kingdom was coming out or something. So that was literally the only reason, and to what you said, Maz, their proprietary games are not going anywhere else. They're not going to be on PC or PlayStation, but it's staying on Nintendo. So that is one grab, right? That is going to bring people over to the Switch 2. As along with what you were saying, Kronos, is that GameCube hub that they're going to have on there, and Nintendo 64 hub, which they already have definitely on. I played that on the original Switch. But here's the thing. Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out. It's going to be $500. The Steam Deck is $600 for the high-end one, the highest end with the OLED as well, which I don't know if they've stated if the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be OLED or not.
They do have versions of a Switch 2 Pro and OLED in the making.
Nice. Okay. So who knows if those are going to be more? I'm assuming they would be. Let's just stick right to the 500 to 600, right? So now you got Nintendo Switch 2, where you can play all your Nintendo games. You can't mod it. And as you're saying, if they do really go through with that, where they're going to be looking for that, if you modify your system and brick it, that kind of sucks. With the Steam Deck, I can mod any game, almost any game, to a certain degree, right? It's still a handheld. I can dock it just like the Nintendo Switch 2. I can carry it wherever I want to, just like the Nintendo Switch 2. I could buy PC games on it that may or may not be ported over the Nintendo Switch 2, right? I'm trying to think of other stuff. There's way more. I had way more in my head about this. In general, to just conclusion here is, I think because if you're someone who really likes PC games and you're only going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 for one game, then you're probably going to be more on the side of just going for the Steam Deck, where you can do a lot more with it. It even has its own operating system. I don't know if you knew this. It's got the Steam OS 3. It's a Linux-based operating system, which I thought was nuts. So literally, I can go on the internet if I wanted to. It looks like a little dashboard, like your regular Windows screen, besides the Steam page. So you go away from that and you can go on the internet, you can download stuff on it, just like a computer. And then you can switch back to your games, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, that's it for that. So that's my
I'm
hot
glad
take.
you wrote it down.
Yeah, that was great, right? All over the place, jumping around. You're welcome.
No, it is good, though. You have a lot of really good points there. But the thing is, again, and I agree with everything that you said, except for one thing. Nintendo is in a league of its own. It's going to make a splash. It's going to make an impact. And quite frankly, they don't care who their competition is because they know they're going to squash them. But it's also in the same breath, though, new. They're two separate, even though they're both handhelds, they're two separate markets. They really are. The Nintendo Switch is for the Nintendo enthusiasts. Aside from the other developers and indie developers, they have their own set of intellectual property. They have their own exclusives. And it's not even an exclusive. It's we own it and we're not sharing it. So I think that is going to corner the market there. People that are Mario fans, Zelda fans. They announce a Zelda game for the Switch 2. You're getting it. I'm talking about you personally. Like if they say, hey, you know what? We're starting a Zelda game and it's going to launch with the Switch, I guarantee you're mugging somebody. So, I mean, it's a different type of market, right? Because you can't sit back and be like, well, I'll just wait for it to come out on Steam. It's never coming out on Steam. So I think that's the advantage it has. I don't think it's going to be hurt by anybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I said, yeah, if they come out, I mean, I didn't buy the Switch. Well, I had the Switch Lite, like I said, but I didn't get like the OLED until I was like, I really wanted that Tears of the Kingdom coming out because I played Breath of the Wild on it, which itself was an old game. And I'm like, yeah, I need this. So I don't know. I guess time will tell. I do understand that point too. Like Nintendo is Nintendo and all of their games are, also like family oriented with Mario Kart and you got Mario Party. You got all these old Mario games that people love. There's a lot to it. Yes, I understand. So I guess we'll see. In my personal opinion, but for me, I'm probably not picking one up, at least not right away.
Another thing too is like you said, the family friendly games. But you was talking earlier about the Joy-Cons. Each Joy-Con is its own controller for some of those games.
Right.
So like every Switch is guaranteed, as long as you have the Joy-Cons, you're guaranteed to at least be able to play with a friend. That's a big selling point too for people. Like, hey, we can buy one console and both of us can play Mario Kart or, Minecraft on here.
It probably, what it probably really is for me? It's probably based on my personal experience. Obviously, my personal experience compared to a lot of other people. If you have a lot of friends that come over a lot, or even a lot of maybe nieces and nephews that come over and they want to play Mario Kart with you, then it's easier, right? All right, so I can dock it with my Pro Controller, and here's a Joy-Con for you, and here's a Joy-Con for you, and let's go, which is not as easy with the Steam Deck. Obviously, with Steam Deck, you would need 3 separate controllers, just like the Xbox or the PlayStation, in order to play. So it does make it easier in that instance. I see that for sure. Where I didn't really have that going on. I mean, there was a few times with my nieces and nephews coming over where we would play, but not even that often. So like for me personally, I didn't see the value in it. But
Fair enough.
I do see the value in it for many others.
Let me put this debate to bed real quick. Steam Deck came out 2017?
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was released in early 2017. How many units has the Steam Deck sold? Venture to guess.
It's not a lot. That is for sure.
4 million units. As of now, as of April of 2025, the Switch has sold 151 million units. 151 million units to 4 million units. I'll let that sink in.
Another thing too is you got to think. I mean, the Steam Deck, yes, it's for new, he can play it wherever. But for a lot of us, it's like we got these big computers that we built and paid all this money for. It's like, why do I want to pay all this extra money just to play the same games?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're buying an Xbox, but it's
right.
just.
But it's to take it on the road. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, like I was saying, I'm like, and you're the same way, Kronos. I know that you're always at work.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
Grab that, go hide, and play your Steam Deck, right? Play your Switch.
See, on that aspect, yeah, my Switch or like my Game Boy, because they're games that I can just sit there and play a little bit. Like New was saying, that Hot Pause feature is like I can work, turn my Switch off, come right back to it, and I could be like right in the middle of a race or something on Mario Kart or playing Pokemon. Nintendo has very off and on usability type consoles.
100%.
Which is nice. The Steam Deck has that as well. I think that technology either was licensed at some point or maybe it was just one of those that's open to anyone that can use that. But The Steam Deck uses it. I don't know about other handhelds because I know there's a lot of other handhelds that are out there besides the Steam Deck that are very similar with like their Linux-based system behind it and games you can play on it. But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I would say I did see that Xbox now has something that they're working with another company called the Backbone, and it hooks up to your phone, uses your phone's like, Xbox app and Game Pass and everything, and you can play all your Xbox games on your phone. And the Backbone thing is just like pretty much like Joy-Cons that hook to your phone that represent an Xbox controller.
See, I see these other companies, they see the value in it, right? So they're obviously are going to start trying to get into it if they see that it's worth their time and if they can be competitive, right? I think honestly, this would be a great time. What do you guys think if we bring up the poll?
100%.
I think it ties in perfectly with this. So over on X and over on our Discord, which I think everyone should go and join, it's the Indie Hangout Discord. If you want to go ahead and join it, it's in the About section. You'll find on the podcast page. But we asked, will the Nintendo Switch 2 boost or bury June 2025's indie games? And your options were bury them, boost them, no impact, or other. And we had you guys comment below if you chose other. So, Kronos, what'd you do? What'd you pick?
Personally, I picked no impact because I don't think it's going to hurt it because, indie games hold their own strength with like PC players and all that stuff. And people that buy the Switch 2 are probably going to be buying it to play, as Maz was saying, games that are Nintendo nostalgic type stuff like Mario or Zelda. So I don't see it hurting it or really helping it.
All right. So I picked no impact as well. So the reason I picked no impact, and we'll go over the results as soon as we're done talking about what we picked, but I picked no impact, and it goes along with my hot take saying that I don't think Nintendo Switch is going to do as hot as a lot of people think. Maybe not as hot as the first Switch, which it will do well in its own right? But I don't, so I chose no impact because the Steam Deck itself does really well with indie titles, and Nintendo is very hard to get your game on. You have to go through this whole spiel of you have to ask them to send you a prototype of sorts in order to put your game build on in order to test it. And then once you've got it tested and everything and working with the Nintendo Switch, you have to then give it to them and say, is it good to go? And if they say no, then you got to figure out why. Obviously, they're going to tell you why, and then you got to go in and fix it. So it's really hard for indie dev in general to get their game on Nintendo Switch, where it is a lot easier to get it over on Steam, which then can be ported to the Steam Deck as long as you make up the key bindings for it. So because of this, I don't think it's going to have an impact on indies at all. I think indie developers are going to do what they need to do in order to get their games on Steam, in order to get their games on the Steam Deck for a lot of people to play. And when it comes time later on, and this is talking for June releases, but future-wise, then yes, maybe you will see the bigger indie titles going over to Nintendo Switch 2, as long as they get approved by Nintendo, of course. So that's my reasoning for saying no impact. What about you, Maz?
I love that you brought that up because I was going to actually ask you, no joke, what is the process of getting onto the Switch? Because it falls with my choice, which was other. Okay, next question. Or should I explain?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm looking at 4 million units versus 151 million units. New, what does that mean for your indie game sales if you make it over onto the Switch?
So there is a big difference here, right? So the Nintendo Switch has been out way longer than the Steam Deck. Switch came out for $300, where the Steam Deck was starting at $400 to almost $600. So there was a price difference where people were able to get in for cheaper when going with the Nintendo. And obviously, with that comes a lot more people buying it up, especially being Nintendo games. They're going to be buying into those. I don't necessarily think that indies have had that much of an impact on the Nintendo in general up until maybe recently, where you do see maybe like the cozier style games being a big impact with the Nintendo Switch, where people, if you play a cozy game, people will be like, oh, is this going to be on the Switch? Is this going to be on the Switch? So there is a thing. There is absolutely, you have a very valid point there with that.
Yeah, and and on top of that, I mean, let me ask you as a developer here at Neumatix, you get approved to be on the Switch. What's your mental state at that point?
Going for it, for sure.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah,
what are you thinking though? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what kind of emotions are going through you?
I think it would be so I think my feelings about it would be the same as some other developers I follow, where it's kind of like a side thing. Like,
Mhm.
all right, I released my game on Steam. I'm happy. Sales are good. Awesome. Now I have a better chance of getting my game ported over to the other consoles, right? So yeah, I follow some other devs that have done the same thing where they release a game on Steam and they're really happy with how things are going. Like, all right, game's released on Steam, things are going good, sales are great. Now it's going to be that much easier to get my game released on other consoles, which is a boost. Absolutely. So they had the initial boost on Steam, which got them known so that Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, now when they go to these guys, like, hey, I've sold this many units on Steam and I bet I can sell a good amount on yours as well. Let's make a deal, right? And so they go ahead and okay, cool, right? They send it out to you, you get it up on their little prototype thing, you put a build on, release it there. So it's like a side gig, it's a side thing, and it's a lot more work for potentially not as many sales as you would get on Steam. Or if it's a really big breakout that's easily played on handheld like Nintendo Switch, then maybe you can get more. But from what I've seen, it seems like a side thing. And being that I've only released a game on mobile and my next one is going to be outright on Steam, the other consoles, unless my game does really well, if it does really well, then I will try to get it on other consoles. But if not, it's just going to stay on Steam. But as to what your question is saying is, if I got approved by them, how would I feel about it? I think it would just be a side venture to hopefully get more sales on my game and get it into people's hands to play and enjoy.
Sure, but the thing, my point being is though, it's 151 million units versus 4 million units if we're talking of the handheld. And by the way, I misspoke. The Steam Deck came out in 2022, and the Switch came out in 2017. So since 2017 and the inception of the Steam Deck, it's 151 million units to 4 million units, just to clarify. But on top of that, that's a lot more opportunity for your game to grow and to sell more units. So I think by default, if your game is on the Switch, it's going to impact that. And the only thing that matters right now is the recent history. You said recent history, there's been more, there's been an uptick in indie games on the Switch, and moving forward right now, especially as these indie games become more prolific, that's really what we're focusing on at this point. So I think that it would have a major impact. And then on the flip side, which is why I chose other, I don't think it's going to have an impact because it's kind of both. Because if your game doesn't make it onto Switch and it's on Steam, well, people are still going to use it to they're still going to use Steam to buy your game. They're still going to use the Steam Deck to play the game. So it's not going to hurt it. It won't hurt it, but it could potentially really boost some indie games.
Yeah, I think in general, you're probably right, where it'd be more of a boost. Maybe not for I don't think it'll be that much maybe for June releases, obviously, but in the future, probably. But as for June, like the games within the next few months, I don't think there'll be that much of impact. I think it'll be that slow uptick that we have seen with the Switch.
That I agree with 100% new, because I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to be finding out what launch games am I picking up. I'm going to go and play some of my games. I mean, the picture that Kronos had shared with us, there's a huge change in resolution. I'm going to go back and play some of those games that have been cleaned up by default just because it's got a higher res. There's a lot of different ways that we can use the Switch. And I think to your point at the beginning, indie games are going to be an afterthought, but it will catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I love the discussions, man. I love the different opinions about it because it fuels the discussion to be even more interesting. This is good stuff. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, man. Yeah, this is awesome. You know what would be even better? I want to hear from our listeners. I want to know what you guys think. What do you really think? Do you think Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have a huge impact? Or do you think that are you going to side? Are you going to side with me? Or are you going to side with Maz and Kronos? I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Just like what? Let us know what you are thinking about this whole thing. Are
Yeah,
you going
please
to
don't
be?
embarrass them.
Yeah, it's
Pick
going to be
me, pick
terrible.
me.
Pick me. Definitely share with us in our Discord. Talk to us over on X, whichever is your fancy. Go ahead and throw it over there. We want to know what you guys think. So after all that, we went over our choices. What did everyone else choose over on X and over on our Discord? So we had 75% of the votes were no impact. That was the winner. So a majority of people think that the Nintendo Switch 2 release is not going to impact indie releases in June at all. We had 13% of votes. Well, actually, we had a couple more votes that did not beat no impact over on our Discord, on X and our Discord for Boost. So Boost was second place, and then third place was other because Maz wanted to talk about it a little bit more on his comment on the subject. So there you go. Listeners, don't think it's going to matter one way or the other. Good stuff. So now with that out of the way, okay, let's get into the games that are coming out. June 2025 indie game releases and updates for you guys. We have one that looks really interesting, and I think I was really interested in it because it looks like a Zelda game, but it has this weird kind of art style that almost looks Disney. I don't know if I'm about that, but I still like the way it plays and the way it was, the tools that were involved in the game. So the game is called Zephyr, I think is what you would say, how you would say it. A Thief's Melody comes out June 2nd, 2025 on Steam, and it is Steam Deck compatible as soon as it comes out, which is huge, so huge. It's a stealth adventure, and it was created by a solo dev, Matthias Fontmarti. Sorry if I butchered that at all. The game's been in development for 12 years. 12 years. Holy cow. It's so cool that it's finally coming out. I'm really excited for this, and I'm excited for this for the dev as well. And I hope it does well. But what this guy doesn't tell you is I went ahead and went onto his website, and he's not just made just this game in the last 12 years. He's been working on it for 12 years, but he's made other small games in between leading up to this full release of this one. And I saw, at least through going through a lot of his stuff on YouTube and on his website, is that I think it's gone through like 3 name changes. So it's pretty cool to see the development process leading up to him finally releasing it. What did you guys think about this one?
So I'm kind of opposite you. I love the artwork. Cell shading is really, really cool. And it's got that Wind Waker vibe to it. Not only just in the art, but overall, just the way that it's set up on the water, sneaking, that kind of thing. It has a lot of, but it also kind of has a Genshin Impact look to it as well. It's very cartoony. It looks polished as hell, to be honest with you, in terms of aesthetics. How it plays is going to be anybody's guess, but I would imagine that after 12 years of solo development, it's going to be on point. So I'm looking forward to trying it out.
So I kind of had a different, idea of what I thought it looked like. To me, it reminded me a lot of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the art style and like the way like the map looked. It just, to me, it had that Sea of Thieves vibe, and I'm like, but it, like as Maz says, it just looks well polished. Like it looks nice and clean.
I love to see how well it really plays out when he finally releases this game. It's so cool. Yeah, Maz, you're right. Just kind of like the Wind Waker inspired visuals. You can not soar around. You can ride around on a turtle. That's so cool across like oceans and I think maybe lakes as well. Any kind of body of water. It looks really interesting. Definitely one I want to keep my eye on. I don't know if I'll buy it right away. We'll see. I think the dev stated over on Reddit that it's going to come out for $24.99, which seems to be a reoccurring theme here with pricing. Wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as that, I will say, based off of just how the game looks, if it's got a lot of content in it, I could see that price. Now, some of the games that we play, like I play Repo, like as Maz says, it's a one-trick pony. Like, it's not a whole lot in the game. It's not, giant stories, giant maps, simple. So I mean, it's you do kind of pay for what you get on some of these games, and that one seems like one that the price is pretty justified.
I would agree with that. 12 years. What's happened in the last 12 years with our country, with our world? That's a long time, especially when it comes to game development and whatnot. One thing that I am concerned about, and New kind of mentioned it, an ongoing trend here. We talked about it in our very first podcast, that one day indie games would start creeping up in price. And the last couple games that I've purchased, which is The Precinct, which is an awesome game, by the way. We're not going to get onto that tangent, but it's a great game. And Deliver at All Costs, which is a game that I also purchased that came out last week, a week ago today. They're $30. So we're kind of eking our way up. If you remember, our first poll of our podcast was, what's the best price for, what price are you willing to pay for games? 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 plus, right? And the majority of people said $15, $20. And now we're getting to 30. So the question is, when does 30 become 35? When does 35 become 50? And I was hoping when I said, hey, someday the price was going to go up, it wasn't going to be a month later. But here
Literally.
we are. 25, yeah, exactly. $25 in, $30 here, $30 there. And these games were $15 6 months ago.
You just had to say something.
Why did you do it?
I should have kept my yap shut.
Well, it's all thanks to Matt. Everyone thank Maz for this. Thanks. I'm kidding.
I inflated the indie game scene.
Yep.
Sorry,
All your
guys.
fault.
They heard him talking about it through the podcast.
They're like, oh, wait, yeah, we could get away with this.
Wait, we could charge more? This guy says, prices are low.
Let's raise them up. Yeah. Going back to it, you mentioned 12-year passion project of this guy and how long that's been. You really think about it, 12 years. That's an insanely long time to be developing something, changing it. As I develop my game, I'm constantly worried about taking too long to release it. For this point right here is that when this guy was first making this game, maybe I'm curious at how many times he had to change it up, and if maybe that goes along with the titles changing because of things changing in the gaming industry. Like whatever he had originally for the idea maybe wasn't going to work after 5 years development, and he has like, I need to change this, and I need to add this, I need to add that in order to make it more relevant. And then another 5 years later, I need to add this and remove this because people aren't into that anymore. So it's like something I think about all the time. Like, I don't feel like I have that amount of time. Like, I feel like 5 years is like the cutoff. Like, no. I can't take more than 5 years because that's too long.
And I don't think that's the case with this guy. I was kind of poking around his profile and learning a little bit about him. It's just a passion project right here. Now, think about Bethesda games. Think about the release of Cyberpunk. A lot of those games were broken. 76, I'm thinking about right off the bat. Fallout 76 was almost unplayable when it first came out. CD Projekt Red had way too many issues with it. And it's the pressure of the deadline now. Oh, you know what? Deadline's coming up. Oh, you know what? Deadline's coming. Get it out. Get it out. Get it out. We need to make money. This guy doesn't have a deadline. Look at this game. Look at it. It's smooth. It's cel-shaded. And he did it all by himself. It is a gorgeous game. And let me ask you this. If he was like, I need to get this out in 5 years, does it look like this? There's no way in hell it looks like this.
No, yeah.
I really honestly don't think it was restarting. And are people going to like this? Because if I'm a game developer, you have to care what the people want. You have no idea in 12 years' time, something that's not popular anymore 3 years after you started might cycle back and be popular again by the time you're ready to release it. So that's kind of a crapshoot, and you should never consider that what's popular right now, because if it's taking as long as it's going to take, you have no idea what the future holds. But this guy, you could tell he's put his soul into this game, and it looks phenomenal. And I wish the guy the best of luck. I really, really do.
But yeah, for as long as it's been in development for, that's why I'm kind of like, man, I really hope it does really well for him and for how good it looks. There's so many indie games that you look at and you're like, I mean, going to our point, you can tell if someone's passion is in it or not by looking at the game. And you're like, with this one especially, like, wow, okay, this guy, you can kind of tell where his inspirations came from, which is even better. and how he put it into his own. And that's also why I think I love sometimes indie devs that are solo or even just a small team of like maybe 3 people, because their story comes through and their passion comes through even more, you know? When you start upticking with more and more people, I think it kind of, we've talked about it before, it kind of diminishes a little bit. Not that much, but when it's like you see just one developer develop this thing and you see how good it looks, you're like, wow, this guy really cared. So yeah,
Absolutely. And he's his own publisher. No deadline.
insane, dude. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm gonna worry about taking too long to release it. That's just me, though. Maybe
You know
not.
what?
What's that?
I was going to say, you know what though? You're going through this for the first time as a solo developer, and then you'll realize how well it went when you released, and then you realize that next game that you don't have to rush as much. You're putting a little bit more pressure on yourself than you probably need to. But I
Yeah,
think that in time, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you're learning as you go. In terms of not maybe you'll always learn more about the coding and the development and everything like that. But when it comes to the timetable and whatnot, you'll know what is the right amount of time the next time.
I can't wait till we have another indie dev or maybe a couple of indie devs come onto the podcast with us to talk with us so I can lay everything out to them. Do you feel this way too?
It's coming, bro. We're doing it soon.
Yes, listeners, listen up closely. It'll come very soon. We'll have some indie devs for you to listen to on future games. It's going to be awesome. So, this guy, awesome. I wish him the best of luck. Zephyr, I think is going to be a killer game and probably going to pick it up.
I'm grabbing it for sure.
Yeah, we'll be playing that one.
Next up on the list, same day release, June 2nd, 2025. The platforms are to be determined. Obviously, Steam. Game's called Void Scout. It's a dark sci-fi roguelike with a dynamic tension system and streamlined tactical gameplay. It's been hyped up on X from its dev and for its imminent release. So, do we know what a roguelike is? Because I don't. I'll be honest. There's a very specific thing about roguelikes. Like people are like, oh no, it's not really a roguelike because it doesn't have this, or whatever. Do you guys know? Because I don't.
I personally don't. I hear it a lot, and I'm like, no clue what that is.
Yeah, so basically what it is a roguelike is a game where it's like permadeath. And so when you die, you start all over again. Versus a roguelite, which will allow you to have different types of like upgrades throughout your progression. And if you die, you keep those upgrades. So the roguelike is like, hey, you start over, it's permadeath. And a roguelite is you start over, it's permadeath, but you keep some of the upgrades as you have earned them throughout previous plays.
Gotcha. So Repo would be a roguelike, I guess, in a way.
So when you die, that's the
You lose everything. You got to start over fresh.
right. And so it keeps. Let me ask you this, because one thing that I didn't know is if your partners make it through, you come back in the next level, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So if you all die though, that's called wiping, right? And
Yep. It's over. Yep.
it's over. That's a roguelike. Right?
And then see the other game I play, Spell Brigade. You pick your like upgrades as you're leveling up throughout the ground. But then when you die, you start all the way over, but you earn coins to upgrade some other stuff, which carries over. So what would that be considered?
That would be a roguelite. Because you die, you start over, correct? But you keep some of your upgrades?
Yeah, you get the like coins and stuff to buy upgrades to start fresh with. So like you'll have like a base set of stats that you can keep boosting by playing even if you lose.
Right. So I'll read you an actual definition of what a roguelike and what a roguelite is. So roguelites are strict to the original rogue game, and I'm quoting Google here, where every death resets progress to absolute zero. Roguelites, on the other hand, offer some form of carryover between runs, such as experience points, unlocks, or currency, that make future playthroughs easier or more powerful. There's a game called Arturo and Arturo 2. And what that game is, you go through dungeons fighting a bunch of bad guys. If you die, you're done. But your experience points, you get different types of currency that you can upgrade your armor. Different types of armor. So if you get multiple sets of the same armor, you can upgrade it from common to uncommon to epic to legendary, that kind of thing. So that is what a roguelite is. versus a roguelike, which is you start over, you died, and you get nothing.
Gotcha. So this would be maybe towards people who really like roguelikes, of course. It looks so cool. I really do like the art style of this one. Kind of reminds me of Among Us a little bit, but kind of shrunk down. Have you seen the way the character moves? It's so funny. It's like a penguin moving around as he's walking around. But he's like going through a space station. So this is the synopsis or the little description of the game. Save reality one mission at a time. A seemingly unimportant void scout gets thrown into the middle of an interdimensional war as the only one who can prevent the exoforms from consuming reality. Strategize, plan, and execute in a suspenseful tactical roguelike. Save the multiverse and die trying. And die trying. I like that.
Yeah, I picked up on the and as well. It's not an or die trying, it's and die trying because you are going to die. I'm looking at some of the gameplay here.
You will not survive.
Right, you're gonna die.
I like the look of it, honestly. What do you guys think?
It's so funny. I've heard.
Yeah, it's got. I like the art style.
I've been playing a couple of different games on my channel. Again, the Precinct and Deliver at All Costs, which is kind of an isometric. Both of them are kind of isometric, top down. It's not really top down, but a lot of people I've heard recently, either in my stream or comments on my YouTube channel, saying things that they're not a big fan of top down. I guess I've never had a problem with top down. I've played them before, and I grew up with Zelda as well. And a lot of those are top down, right? So I'm used to that. I like the way this looks. I think that, and I absolutely agree with you, Neumatix. I think that a lot of this artwork was inspired. I mean, it looks almost identical to Among Us in terms of the top down, the art style, even the venue in the preview looks very much like Among Us.
Yeah,
but I think it looks phenomenal. It looks fun. It looks fun as hell.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just looking at it as you're watching some gameplay, it looks like a fun game to just mess around with. If you're not really, it's like one of those games you jump in, you're like, I don't want to get serious into a game. I just want to have a little fun. This is like that game you go to. Yeah, so I think people will be interested in that one. That, like I said, comes out June 2nd. What else we got here? So we got another release, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma. So not technically an indie, but I think it was worth mentioning because I'm going to get this one if I can. I don't know though, because I think it's only on the Switch and the Switch 2. Have you guys played any of the Rune Factory games?
No.
I have not.
What? Man.
I have not.
You're missing out. Now first Stardew, now Rune Factory. I can't with you guys. I'm kidding. So this game comes out June 5th. Like I said, it comes out on Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. I neglected to look up if it came out on Steam. I really hope it does. If not, I'll wait. It's fine. It's an action RPG life sim with farming, romance, town building, set in an Asian-inspired world, which is, I love. Developed by Marvelous Inc., which I said is a AAA. It's an indie adjacent due to its smaller studio roots. So where it came from was indie at one point. I remember I talked to you guys probably in some episode around here where I said, a lot of these indie games or indie devs, they make a good game and it does well. And then they bring on a team. Okay, we got like 5 guys to work on the next one. That game does well. Okay, let's bring in 5 more guys. And like this escalating team building over the successful games that are releasing. And before you know it, it's a AAA making amazing games. But this one is, I've played this back on the PSP, I think it was. I played my first experience with Rune Factory. I don't even know what Rune Factory it was. And then on the Nintendo Switch, Rune Factory 5 came out, and I bought it because I'm like, oh, Rune Factory, that's a good game. It's a good name. I'm going to play this. It's going to be awesome. And it was not. I did not like it at all. I thought it was terrible. I saw things like clipping and weird stuff going on that I don't think should be happening in a AAA game, but it was for a smaller scale game as it was. So they actually have come out about this and they said they know Rune Factory 5 did not go over very well, but they are very in high hopes and they feel that everyone's going to really enjoy this one from them instead. It'll be like a makeup one. Like, sorry about this. So we got you this one. We know you're really going to enjoy this one kind of deal. Have you guys had a chance to take a look at this one?
So you'd be happy to know that this actually does come out June 5th on Steam as well.
Yes.
It does.
To me, that looks like Genshin Impact.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail as well. Those are really, really popular games right now. Genshin's kind of cooling off a little bit, but a lot of these games are popping up more and more. And I think Rune Factory kind of fits that mold as well.
Yeah, they definitely went more anime style for this development, which they've kind of teetered on that anyways with a lot of their past games. But this one's like 100%. You're looking at it like, wow, yeah. This is kind of, I like games like, I like Genshin Impact. I like game styled like this. It's very pretty to me. I really like the style of this. Cool. So yeah, when this one comes out, my wife is going to hate me because I'm going to be draining the bank account with all these games coming out and buying them all up. So this is definitely on my list. She's going to listen to this and be like, really?
So does that technically make that Rune Factory 6?
So I went ahead and looked this up and I listened to some people and they said no. So this is just a spinoff. This is its own thing. It's not in the category of Rune Factory 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going to make, they're in the middle, I think they're in the middle of making 6. And they wanted to make something like this and release it on its own.
So they're treating this like a Fast and the Furious saga.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. Don't play that one. No, that's the side. No.
He agreed. Look, see, he was like, yeah. So unfortunately, we know how those movies have went downhill.
Yeah, no, you can't play this one. You got to play this one first, then this one, and then you got to come back to this one.
I kind of feel like we're Tokyo drifting this one, guys.
Yeah. Oh, this could be exactly that.
This is like the Hobbs and Shaw. It's just total spinoff.
Absolutely. So anyone who's listening, if you really like games that deal with farming, romance, town building, this is your game. Comes out, like I said, June 5th. Be like me and pick it up day one. All right, on to the next one. The Plucky Squire. This one comes out June 26th, so at the end of June 2025. Comes out on Switch and Switch 2 as well. It's a Zelda-like indie with a storybook art style where the hero jumps between the books and the real world. It features texture copying mechanics for puzzle solving. So very interesting mechanics behind this one. What do you guys think?
Very, very innovative looking.
Yes, I will possibly be picking that one up to play.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Most of these games, I think I'll probably end up picking up. So I'm going to be in the same situation, draining the bank account, and then getting divorced. Right. So I think it looks really cool. It's side scroller, 2D, top down 2D, 3D. It checks a lot of boxes. And I would imagine that not only are you in a book and then out of a book, but I would venture to guess that this person, Jot, who is the main character, the protagonist here, is going to jump from book to book as well through that 3D world.
Dude, it looks so good. I really do like it. It kind of looks like, it reminds me of Paper Mario.
What was that one that Maz talked about a while back that was like had the same art style? Cuphead?
Yeah.
Cuphead was it was hand drawn. That was more of like a 1930s Disney type cartoon. So if you remember the very first, but if you remember the very first Disney cartoon that ever came out, it was like 1939. It was Steamboat Willie. And it just kind of had that repeat animation with him whistling at the helm of a steamboat there. It's that kind of graphics. To kind of echo what Neumatix was saying, this has a lot of a Paper Mario look to it as well. But it also has a Link to the Past vibe to it too on the 3D scale.
Yeah, I would agree. It's also being published by Devolver Digital, which is a big publishing studio. They've also helped publish games like Enter the Gungeon, Hotline Miami, Talos Principle, and Broforce. So some pretty notable indie games right there. So I think this one is going to be a hot one too.
These developers will only pick up the ones they think are going to be hot. So it makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Sidebar real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Again, it released last week in May. But we're talking about big publishers and whatnot. There is the game Deliver at All Costs. It is developed by Studio Far Out Games, but it was actually published by Konami, which I thought was very, very interesting. I didn't realize that Konami was publishing indie developers. So it kind of shows when we talk about how these indie games are becoming, these indie developers and these indie games are becoming more and more prolific. Some of these high-end AAA publishers are getting wise to the success of the indie games and jumping in that ring as well.
Which is really smart. They know what to look for. They know when they have a good game. They've had plenty of successes themselves, so they're looking at some indies that they know they can help and make a buck off. They're going to do that. And obviously, they're not going to pick up an indie that they don't feel is going to do well, because they were like, oh, yeah, Konami is good, but they don't do well with publishing, picking out games and publishing that. Of course, yeah, they're going to do the research and they're going to pick out good games. Yeah, I like that. So with that, let's go ahead and take a quick ad break. And when we get back, we'll go over some potential major updates that'll be coming to some of the indie scene, with some possible broader hot takes for you to listen in on. And to end it off, we'll be jumping into our mailbag right after this. Do you want to be a part of the next episode and steal the spotlight? Then send us your questions for the pod via dropping them in our Discord server or shooting us an email over at indiehangoutcast@gmail.com. The best ones get featured on the show, whether they be short and sweet or long and comprised of multiple questions. Even send us over some hot takes to really get the conversation fired up, and your question just may get featured in the next episode. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Indie Hangout Podcast. All right, time to get into some potential major updates in the indie scene, maybe a couple more games for you guys. So we have, if you haven't heard of it before, Hades. Hades was a very, very popular, successful game that came out, and they have Hades 2 coming out in early access, has a potential June update to it. It was created by Supergiant Games. It's a roguelike sequel, and it's an early access, like I said. It's got a lot going for it in June. Have you guys played this one before? I've seen a couple people play it, and it looked like a lot of fun. It looked like a really polished game.
I personally have not played it, but it does look like something I will maybe play like a demo if they have it and try it out.
I have not played that one. I've seen a lot of gameplay from the original one, but not part 2 yet.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's a really big, successful game in its own right. It's, like I said, really, really polished. I think a lot of people will be looking forward to this one and its updates in June here. And its potential updates, I should say, because it does say it has got some potential June updates to it. So really good stuff. Hopefully it doesn't overshadow some of the other smaller indies that are going to be coming out. I don't think so. I think it stands alone in itself. If people are going to play that game, they're going to play that game. And with these other cool ones that are coming out, I think people are going to be jumping on those if they intrigue them as well.
I tend to agree with you on that, New. I think that the nice thing about indie games is that people find the games that they're interested in and they stick with that. So I think everybody kind of gets a fair shake. It's a little bit different than, like one studio dominating the AAA market or anything like that. I think that, to your point, anybody that is good enough to have the right PR and right type of exposure is going to get the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
Very good point that we've brought up a couple times in the other podcast episodes.
Oh, yeah. So sidestepping here, kind of sidestepping. It's in what we're going to be talking about. Something big happened. The Indie Live Expo of spring. Let's do a little follow-up of this. So if anyone doesn't know, the Indie Live Expo is a big deal, right? So they do these events, they bring developers on, they showcase indie games. They had like over 100 plus indie titles showcased for the spring that are going to be releasing throughout the year, or potential releases, right? So you got these games, a lot of the ones that we've already talked about were showcased on this, as well as some smaller ones like My Little Puppy, Gilgo. Those were announced there as well. So I want to discuss with you guys, if you looked into the Indie Live Expo, or two, are there any big titles that they announced that you're really looking forward to on there?
So there was a couple games, on there that I thought would be kind of interesting. One of them was Turbo Squad. It's like a almost like a Mario Kart style game, but it's got like a party animal art style to it.
Looking at it right now. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's like, it looks like once your car gets blowed up or destroyed, then you got to run on foot. It doesn't just end, it's like it constantly keeps racing.
Dude, that looks cool. I like it. Smash the others. You imagine, like, you get mad that your car blew up and you're running to try and stop other people or blow their car up to take revenge.
Yeah, and then it just becomes a foot race at that point. Like it's the cars just go out the window.
That is cool. So it does have just a coming soon release date. It's developed and it's going to be published by Bubblebird Studio.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't think I've seen another title from them.
I love seeing this kind of stuff though, especially from indies that you could do single player, PvP, online co-op. That's something we didn't really see that much until probably within the last year. There's a lot more multiplayer games from indie devs. I think this one's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna have a lot of like multiplayer type potential to just be that like relaxing game with your friends. It's also a bunch of chaos.
Yeah. I also think games like this, like I said before, not everyone. It's funny. I've talked to Cog, one of my followers, about this, and he always would say, not everyone wants to come home from work and dive deep into an RPG. Some people want to just come home and play a game that is just, it doesn't matter what happens. You're just there to have fun. There's no inventory management. There's no, I need to pay attention to this or I'll die in the game. There's no, I'm trying to learn the story. I just want to play this, blow stuff up and have fun. And this is definitely one of those.
You gotta love those instant gratification payoffs when it comes to senseless violence, gratuitous gore in some of these games. It's like a time waster, and some of those games are appropriate given different times, like getting home from work and immersing yourself into an RPG. That's like one of my favorite genres, but that's not I'm going to kick up, after a long day of work at 6:30 and dive into an RPG.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, you don't want to sit there and be like, okay, how late am I going to be up because I get stuck in this game?
Exactly.
So you guys are probably around the same way I am. I wait usually if I'm getting into like a heavy RPG. I'm like, all right, Friday night or Saturday morning is my deal with that. But for the remainder of the week, we're just gonna do something mindless to a point.
I got to work weekends though, so I can't really say I do that.
Oh my god, I
absolutely do.
forgot.
Yep, I'm the weekend guy.
Man, that sucks, man.
Like my RPG games, I guess, would be like my days that I am off though. Like I'll wake up and get some stuff done around the house, and then I'm like, yeah, jump on an RPG and play it for a little bit. But most of the time, it's like, do I really want to get started on this? Because I know the rest of my day is going to be occupied.
That's true. That's
Yes,
true.
sir.
Yeah, I was over on the Indie Live Expo and I saw an interesting game as well. So this game is called Artis. It is also a coming soon release date, so sometime within a year. There's a demo of it that I have played by the time people are listening to this recording. It's a fun turn-based RPG set in a future world of humans and AI. Play as Akane to explore vibrant locations, battle with simple yet fluid combat, and enjoy side quests full of charming surprises. With a playful, humorous style and clever details, this adventure is light, easy, and full of smiles. It is developed by Mass, I'm pretty sure that's how it says, M-A-S, and it's published by the same person. It's a solo dev. So in the description, what this person doesn't tell you is this game is all hand-drawn. Kind of like how that other game was, Cuphead, Maz. Yeah, this game is the same way. It's so unique. It's just in a class of its own when I look at it compared to a lot of other games. Some games can try and push the envelope and you're like, okay, they went too hardcore in this and it's like it didn't really work. With this one, wow, stunning. I'm in awe when I look at games like this that are hand drawn and brought to life. I think that's just in a class of its own.
I agree. And when we talk about passion projects and love projects, I mentioned it with Cuphead a while ago. I mean, every frame was illustrated individually. I mean, that's love. And you don't have a AAA company that's going to do that.
Right. Yeah. So that's a really fun one that I saw, that I played a demo of, that I'm excited for. I can't wait to know when. And also because, even furthermore on this is that a solo dev publishing, as of now, solo publishing, not with a publisher at all, that could change. You never know. Some people throughout the development process, if they feel it, could use a little help with PR or whatnot whenever they're going to release their game. Sometimes they they'll seek out a publisher or a publisher seeks them out. So I'm interested to see how it goes and more interested to see when the full release is going to be. That's the one I caught off of the Indie Live Expo.
What did you say it was called again?
It is called Artis, ARTIS. Well, Artist Impact.
So this is like a little cozy game. I can see why New's really excited to play that. Like this one scene I'm seeing, this girl, the main character, is just sitting on a park bench next to a river or stream, and there's a fish laying on the bank.
It's so chill, man. It's such. Have you guys caught on? I think I have a very strange of different games. Like either go 100% into the hardcore game, or I'm very, very laid back, cozy. Give me a chill atmosphere, zen.
So it goes back to what you were saying that Cog was saying to you. It's a mood thing, right? You're probably going to get more into cozy after work, and then on the weekends go hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see any on there? Did you happen to see any live Expo indie games that stood out to you, Maz?
Oh yeah, a couple of them stand out. So one of them is actually already out, and one of them is going to be out at the end of June. I probably should have mentioned it while we were in that segment. But the one that's already out is called Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days, and I actually played the demo of that. It's a game that it's developed by Pickpock and then published by Boltray Games and Pickpock. So it's kind of like a collaborative publish. But really, really good. It's a side scroller, 2D, 3D. They rely heavily on parallax for that, but it's a survival game. Not two players. It's a single player game, but you have two characters that you start out with. So each couple has different skills. Like one doesn't need to eat prepared food. They can eat raw food without it making them sick or diseasing them or anything like that. One person has a higher stamina or what have you. There's a lot of different areas that you can go to. You have to scavenge for parts, for medications, for food. It's really, really interesting.
And what game was that?
It's Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days.
Nice. Okay.
I played it briefly I did a Discord stream once with this. Really, really interesting. It's a 2D side scroller, but it has a lot of 3D looks to it. Like I said, they use a lot of parallax.
Oh, dude, I saw this game. It looks so good.
It's gorgeous. It's an absolutely beautiful game. It's fun as hell to play. It's very punishing when you die. Like there's a lot of games where punishment's not that bad, right? I'll give you No Man's Sky. You die in that, you go and you collect your items and you're back. Minecraft, you blow up, provided you're not anywhere near lava or anything like that, you go, you pick up your items and everything's fine. With this, you die, you're out. It's a roguelike feel to it as well with these survivors. But the cool thing is, as you progress through the game, you can find other survivors that are hiding in churches or in dumpsters or different areas, and you can bring them back to your home, and you can actually upgrade your home. So you start in a home, you reinforce it, you move to a factory because you have too many people, and you can continue to build out with all the resources that you're scavenging as well. That came out in April, so that came out just before this Indie Expo really was underway. The other game is called Ruffy and the Riverside. And that game, it's not really my style of game, but for some reason, it caught my eye. It looks really interesting. It has a different type of art style to it. Very hand-drawn, seems hand-drawn, but it's not. It's cel-shaded.
The art style's cartoony enough to where it's not excessive, but it's still... But looking at it, like most of the maps and backgrounds don't look as cartoony. They look more detailed.
Yeah, so it's got quite a bit of art fusion, so to speak. You've got some good parallax backgrounds. It looks like a hand-drawn, almost like kind of like a Paper Mario character. Magic, kind of like a copy and paste texture game. So you can turn water into lava or you can turn it into ice. So for instance, you're trying to get across a river that there's no way to get across safely. You can freeze that water and get across it. Or if you need to melt some ice, you can turn a waterfall into lava and melt whatever you need to get to the next objectives. Lots of really cool uses of parallax, lots of really cool hand drawing, that flat 2D look as well. It's not normally my style game, but I may give this one a try.
The demo is available now. So another one I found, I'm just throwing this in there, is Chrono Sword. Hope I'm saying it right. But it's a top-down action game, and it reminds me so much of Devil May Cry.
Ooh. So
It looks like a top-down Devil May Cry game, and it just like intrigues me right off the bat. But yeah, Chrono Sword. Little partial to it because it kind of sounds like my name, but with a C, I got a K.
Ooh. Oh, I like the movement of the character.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It reminds me of the Devil May Cry series, and I'm like, even the character kind of looks like that. The platinum hair, the red cape.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Diablo. Just a little bit. Just like that.
Oh,
the way it
yeah.
looks.
I've never played Diablo, but I've seen videos of it.
It's got that.
Sorry, Maz, you were saying?
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. I was just going to say it definitely has that isometric look. And this is the type of top down that I was talking about. The feedback I'm getting is not overly favorable. I don't personally have a problem with it. It makes some people nauseous, though, from what I've been told.
Oh, really?
Kind of like, the two things that I'm hearing that make people somewhat nauseated by playing is it's not really top down. It's isometric. It's a 2D that's tilted at an angle to make it look 3D. That makes some people nauseous, and motion blur can make people nauseous too. Those are the two biggest ones that I hear. But this looks fantastic. It's got a little bit of retro look to it as well. Like this is like Gauntlet type graphics.
Yeah. Wow. Dude, Kronos, this is a really good looking one. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I'm like really interested in it.
This one's neat.
I really go for that old look, that retro pixel style. I'm all about that stuff. Like any kind of indie games that have that retro look to it and pixel art, I'm for it.
Yeah, like it gives that older, almost like, as we was talking earlier, like Game Boy Advance type game. Like the Final Fantasies for that game.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna be giving that one a try.
But yeah, I think there's quite a lot of games out there for people to check out. If this interests you, any of the games we talked about, you could definitely find them over on Steam, or you could go ahead and go over to the website, Indie Live Expo, and you could check out a bunch of indie games that are up and coming that most likely the three of us will be jumping into at some point in time.
Guys, I don't think I can be part of this podcast anymore. I'm afraid that I'm going to have to take out a second mortgage buying all these games.
Dude, it's so bad. Oh my God, it's so bad.
I'm already in the process of having to update my computer just to have more memory for these games.
Right.
Faye already yelled at me because I asked her last night to buy a game. She goes, wait. Didn't you just buy a game? And how many times have you played it? I go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, there's so many, and I need to buy this one.
I asked Mrs. MazTech if I could get the Precinct last. And if looks could kill, I would have dropped it on the spot. And I was like, wait a second, it's out of the channel funds. So I didn't even know why I asked her.
You just
But she knew that I was spending it on more indie games.
Oh man, that's funny. That's good. Yeah. Well, it's too bad, Maz. You're stuck with us whether you like it or not, and you're gonna have to find that money some way, somehow. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We all are.
Yeah,
We're
just
like,
pick up a couple extra hours at work. We'll cover it.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah, a little overtime. It's fine.
You know how many hours I had to work
Can I get 2 hours of overtime?
You're over there on your phone doing the math on your calculator.
Right.
If I do this much more.
All right, if I stay about 3 hours late today and 2 hours late tomorrow, I might be able to swing that game this week.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. And I think that pretty much wraps everything up for that. So now I think we should get into our last segment of the pod, guys. It's mailbag time. So over on our Discord, which if you haven't joined, I don't know why you haven't. You should join it by now. The Indie Hangout Discord. You can go ahead and ask us questions. You can answer polls. You can answer the question of the pod when we throw that up there. Or try and chat with us because we're readily available to chat it up with anyone over the Discord as well. So over in there, like I said, we have the mailbag, and in the mailbag, we have a question from Call Me Nanes. She asks, can you talk a little bit more about what goes on into making a game as a dev new? So this is the first part of the question because she has the next part that we'll get into. So a little bit more about what goes into making a game as a dev. So I feel like I talk people's ear off with this more than I should, but if people are interested, I definitely want to bring it up more. So I have a game design bachelor's of game design. So I actually went to college and I did all that fun stuff, and I thought I was going to get into the ring of things with that, but there's not a lot of game studios to get into around Chicago, and not any that I was willing to take a pay cut for with my family, right? So I decided to go indie. And what is involved with that is a lot. So if you guys didn't know, I've brought it up before. I made a game called Up Jumper that I released, co-created with me and my buddy Joe. We both graduated from the same college. We stuck together afterwards. We created Up Jumper, and it was just a quick kind of game to get out there to see if we can do it within a year. And we did. We released it in 8 months. I actually have it over on my YouTube channel that I can link in this episode's About section if you guys really want to look at it. And it was a lot of hard work. So you have to get into the swing of things with a game engine. So I use Unity, but a lot of people have been getting into Unreal. And honestly, as a game dev, it's either one or the other. Well, usually if you jump into one, you're not going to go into the other. And it kind of scares devs when they jump into the other because it's something they're not used to. So I have learned all I can as much as I can, and I keep up to date with the news of Unity when it comes out. And I tend to stick to the 2D side. I delved whatever into the 3D side, but I'm not much into that because if I were to do that as a solo dev now, I would have to deal with outsourcing for 3D modeling because I'm not good in Blender. I know of Blender and I've made some stuff in Blender, but not good enough to be like, yeah, this is good in the game. It would be terrible. And you guys were like, you are not good at this. Just stick to 2D, which is what I do. So 2D, the only thing for my game that I've outsourced is music. When it came to Up Jumper, me and my buddy Joe created everything from scratch. So I created all the 2D art. He created procedurally generated code to create the platforms. It's an endless jumper, if you couldn't guess by the name, constantly going up and up and up, and you have things shooting at you or trying to kill you as you're trying to go further up this tower. And he created the code for that. We both dived into the code. He didn't do any of the art. I did all the art. We both dived into the level design for the 3 sections that were in that game. And it was a lot. It seems like when you watch a trailer, it seems like not that much, and there wasn't really much to it. And in reality, there's not. But it took us literally full time, 8 months, every night on the computer, going at it in Unity 3D, me jumping into trying to make the sprite art in GIMP, which is a free software that I use. And that's another thing as a solo dev, or even with me working with him, it was trying to find software that was free because you don't really have the budget that other people do, or, even AAA, AA do in order to create really good looking games, unless you go. Oh yeah. And even so, as we've brought up, like Kickstarter from our prior podcast episode is a good way to try and get funding for stuff, which is something I've looked into since then, because doing it by myself now and creating the game that I don't have a name for yet to tell you guys, it's so much work. Like, I have outsourced for music, and that's the only thing I've outsourced for. Everything else is coming from me. I've been teaching myself how to be better at sprite art. I've been teaching myself how to be more compact with my code. I've been teaching myself how to do story dialogue, because there's going to be a lot of story dialogue. There's a lot that goes into it. Honestly, sometimes I get overwhelmed, but I got to just take it one step at a time. And I think a lot of devs do that, especially when solo. They just kind of do it one step at a time. As we've stated before, a lot of devs who are solo, and even a small team, it's their passion project. So they jump into it when they can, and the colors fly. And when I'm really focused into it, I can sit on the computer all day long, and it drives Bay nuts because she'll be like, "Are you going to eat? Oh, what time? Oh my God, it's dinner time! I've been on the computer since 7 a.m. It's nuts." But yeah, so that's like a little snippet into the life of me as a dev trying to make my way. And I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be a 2-year project when I started it back in October of last year. And as of now, I still see 2 years of stuff needing to be done still. So who knows when it actually will be released. But yeah, so a little bit about how the making of everything goes with me when it comes to my game. Sorry if that was long-winded.
That was great. No, this is an indie game podcast.
And you're an indie game developer, so.
Yeah.
Oh, side note, I use Sprite for my sprite art. Such a great program. If you ever see me in Discord, if you see the little thing next to me that says playing a sprite, yeah, I've been working on my game. Sometimes I just
Playing
leave it
a
open.
sprite for 141 hours.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, sometimes I leave it open overnight because I'm like, I need to leave this open so I know where I left off. Yeah. So, but yeah, a little bit about me. If you want to know more about any of that, I'll feel free to ask me in Discord, and I'll share with you. No problem. It's obviously, something I'm very passionate about. So, and I don't know everything. I'll be first one to say I don't know. I have one title under my name that's not even up on the iOS or Android store anymore. And I'm afraid, as I've always stated, I'm afraid to upload it because I need permission from the guy I made it with to do that. And we are not on really good talking terms. If that's something you want to hear about, I will not discuss on the podcast. Ask me privately and I will discuss it with you. So, but yeah, so enough about me. On to the next question of Nains. She goes, when you guys are playing a game or reviewing a game for a dev, what do you look for? I would love to hear the process of it all.
I feel like Maz should take the lead on this one because he's done some reviews.
So the first thing I'm looking for is it playable if it breaks. So for instance, we're okay with different types of bugs, but bugs that break the game. And I'll give you an example. I was doing a test. I was doing QA, as they call it, and I think I mentioned it during one of the previous podcasts. Game was called Tombstalkers, and I was going up against the final boss in that game, and its name was Quetzalcoatl, which is a mouthful. But sometimes when I fought that enemy, it would just sit there flapping its wings, so there was no way I could kill it, because you have to use its own attacks against it to win. And so sometimes it would just sit there flapping its wings and it wouldn't move or anything like that. But then other times it would. But when it broke, that was starting all the way over. So you had multiple lives, but that's a roguelike game as well. So if you got to the end of that and it was broken, you had to start all the way back at the beginning and hope that when you got there, it wasn't broken. But because I was doing QA, which is quality assurance, helping test the game and whatnot, that actually made sense to say it at that point, but helping test the game and everything like that, where I was helping test the game, I had access to the developer, like immediate access to the developer, and that developer's still in my Discord. So I'm looking for playability. I'm looking for accessibility. I'm looking for as little not graphical. I'm looking for as little bugs as possible. But then when we're looking forward to a more refined, developed game, something closer to the end of beta or something that's early access or even full release. When I'm looking to review something like that, I'm looking for the whole package. I'm looking for the polished graphics because I'm a graphics hound. Polished graphics, playability, accessibility. Replayability is huge. We were just playing on the channel Deliver at All Costs, and that game released a week ago today. And so that was just a crazy game. And it's really fun, and it's adding challenges. It's sandbox. You can go wherever you want. The physics are absolutely phenomenal, but the replayability is there. So I'm looking for how much fun is it? Would I play it again after I beat it? Does it work? Does it have bugs? The whole package.
So me personally, I've never done a game review for a dev, but I have played quite a few games, and when it comes to it, picking a game for me is, kind of like Maz said, that replayability. But a lot of times, me personally, if I'm going to keep playing a game, I want something that interests me. I want a really good story or something that's just like draws you in every time you play it. You're like, I can't believe I quit playing this game. I want to come back to it. And if I find a game that's like that, I will play it for hours and hours and hours on end. For example, this isn't an indie game, but it's a game that I've played for probably 200 hours. It's Destiny 2. There's just so much to do that it just keeps drawing you back in.
Oh, you hearing this, Nains? You hearing this? She's going to love that.
She's jumping up and down and doing backflips while she listens.
Good old Destiny. When reviewed a game for a dev, something I look for, kind of similar to what Maz does as well, and Kronos, I'm going in there. I try to be as open-minded as possible because I do have a tendency to immediately cut a game off if the art doesn't speak to me. There's a lot of times that I'll jump in And Maz has known this. I said it, I think, in the first or second episode about Don't Starve Together. I just couldn't do it. The art style does not speak to me, and I couldn't. I played it and I tried it, but I just couldn't continue. So for me, a lot of it's art style. That's the first thing I go for. As shallow as that may seem, it could even be a game where the art style isn't even that good, but the way it's done is just working for me. Like the game Artis, right? It's hand drawn. It's a lot different compared to a lot of other games. When I first looked at it, I was like, I don't know, is this gonna be my thing? But honestly, after getting into it, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad I played it. So art is something I'm very back and forth about when it comes to the game when I jump into it. After that, it's all about things clicking right for me. If I cannot get into the game within the first hour, I'm probably not going to get into it in the second hour. Just the way it's been for me. And I spoke about this before as well. If I don't think about the game the next day, it wasn't worth it for me. If I'm thinking about it the next day, nonstop, or even not nonstop, I've had it where I'll be thinking about it on my lunch. When I get home, maybe I'll play that game a little bit more. I was really interested in it. Turns out to be one of those, another game in my repertoire of games I play or stream or make videos of. So definitely for me, things I look for is the art and how well it clicks with me within the first hour. I don't even care. Like, game can have bugs a little bit. Obviously not game breaking, because then that completely throws me off. I might kind of rage quit and be like, yeah, I'm not playing this again until they make a patch. And then that's even iffy after that. But yeah, that's about it for me. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Nanes, for that question, for the twofer. I love the 2 questions in one. I think we got a lot out of that, and I think our listeners got a lot out of that as well. So, as I've stated before, if you want to be a part of that, join our Discord or drop us an email at indiehangoutcast@gmail.com. Do either. If you'd rather throw us an email, we're fine with that. If you want to jump in the Discord and throw it in the mailbag, we're also really good with that. So, looking forward to it. Anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. So, as I always say, I really hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I think it was really good. I had a lot of fun going over it. I know all of us did. I think that our listeners are going to get a lot out of this one. So we all look forward to having you guys listening to us in the next one. And we all really hope you enjoyed this one as well. And until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye.
That's a wrap.
See ya.
And done.